My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review for the French Dispatch. And I'm going to begin this review by stating a contradiction. Wes Anderson is one of the very best movie directors of all time. But Wes Anderson is also easily the most overrated movie director of all time, in my opinion. Like I said, it's a contradiction, but here's what I mean. Every single one of his movies are technically brilliant. Like, the actual craftsmanship that goes into all of his movies is unlike anything else. He's got that signature style. The production design, the costumes, the music, just every single one of the behind the scenes element of his movies is pure perfection. And on paper, I should love every single one of his movies based on that alone. But with the exception of Fantastic Mr. Fox, I hate every one of his movies. And that's because I think the writing behind them is so incredibly bland and boring, and I can never connect with the story or the characters. So he's the very definition of style over substance. And style over substance isn't necessarily always a bad thing. It's called filmmaking. It's the craftsmanship that goes into making a movie. But I still think you need some substance. It can be simple, it can be complex, but you still need some sort of substance to go along with that style. And that's where Wes Anderson movies lose me. This movie is absolutely emotionally absent. There is nothing for me to connect to. Not a single character acts like an actual person. They only act and talk like Wes Anderson movie characters. The story is just impossible to get into. This movie doesn't really have one storyline. It's an anthology movie with 3 stories and a bookend on each end of the movie. But each individual story, there was nothing for me to get entertained by. So for the first 10 minutes of this movie, I'm just like, oh my goodness, like I forgot just how good of a filmmaker this guy is. But after 10 minutes, that awe and wonder wears off and you're just left with nothing to connect to. And I just felt like getting through this movie was difficult. I'm not even sure if I could tell you what each section of this movie was about. The first anthology, the first part of this movie focuses on this guy in jail who's a really good painter. And it's got Benicio del Toro and Adrien Brody, and I like the concept of it, but I didn't laugh, I didn't find it to be entertaining. Then you got one with Timothée Chalamet and Frances McDormand, and there's some kind of wild stuff going on or something like that. I could not get invested in that one. And then you got one with Jeffrey Wright, who's on this, what looks like a TV show, and he's being interviewed, and he's telling the story, and there's this boy who got kidnapped or something like that, and I had zero investment in that. Like, while I'm watching this movie, I want to love it. I really do. You can see the love and passion that he has. But it's just impossible for me to get invested in any one of his movies, and he's always the one writing the script, and maybe it's time that he gets someone else to do that. Like, I'm in the minority. Most people love his movies, but I think that's the one element where he's really lacking as a creative voice. I think his scripts all just kind of feel the same, with the same kind of characters, and there's just nothing about them that's grounded, that you can really get invested in. And yeah, like I'll repeat myself, the visuals in this movie are absolutely incredible. Like, what he's able to do here is just impressive, unlike anything else. There's a few animated sequences which I just loved. He uses color in interesting ways. The actual production design and the costume design is just top notch. And you can just tell while you're watching this movie that every single frame is exactly how he planned it out to be. And that is the talent of a master. It really is. The score by Alexandre Desplat is really fantastic. There are some funny moments, but I need more. I wish I watched this movie and I loved it as much as everyone else, and I say it was so fantastic. I loved it. It was entertaining. It was hilarious. The story and characters were really great. I wish I could say that about this movie. But I'd be lying if I said anything other than I was completely bored for the entire one time. I couldn't care less about any of the characters or anything that was going on. I think Wes Anderson is a brilliant technical filmmaker, but as a screenwriter, he leaves plenty to be desired. So I'm going to go ahead and give The French Dispatch a 4 out of 10. I think his movies just need less Anderson involvement behind the scenes. But what did you think of The French Dispatch? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe. Stay tuned for some more videos soon. And Gavin,